Hey y'all, I'm Lisa, just a small town girl from Willow Creek, Texas, where the sunsets paint the sky like God's own watercolor, and folks still wave from their pickups on Main Street. I ain't one for drama, never have been. Grew up helping my daddy on the ranch, learning that hard work and honesty get you further than any fancy talk. But here I am, sitting on my front porch swing, the chains creaking softly in the evening breeze, finally spilling this story to you. It's been bottled up too long, like a storm cloud ready to burst. I guess I learned the hard way that sometimes the people you trust most are the ones hiding the darkest secrets. And when they lie about everything, well, you gotta make sure the truth comes out, no matter how much it hurts. It all started 4 years ago, back when I was 32, and feeling like life was finally settling into something good. I'd just taken over managing the family feed store after Daddy retired. Nothing glamorous, but it kept the lights on and let me stay close to home. Willow Creek's the kind of place where everyone knows your name, your mama's maiden name, and what you had for supper last night. The air always smells like hay and barbecue, and on Fridays, the high school football lights turn the whole town into a glowing carnival. That's where I met Travis. He rolled into town one hot July afternoon, his shiny black truck pulling up to the store like he owned the place. Tall, broad-shouldered, with that easy smile and eyes as blue as a summer sky. Said he was a real estate developer from Dallas, looking to invest in some land out here. Big plans for Willow Creek, he told me, leaning on the counter while I rang up his order of fencing wire. Gonna bring some jobs, some growth. You ever think about expanding this place? I laughed, wiping sweat from my brow. The AC was on the fritz that day, and the fan just stirred the humid air around like soup. Me? Nah, I'm happy keeping it simple. But if you're buying land, talk to old Mr. Harlan down the road. He's fixin' to sell. We got to chatting, and before I knew it, he was asking me out for dinner at the Blue Bonnet Diner. Nothing fancy, checkered tablecloths, the sizzle of burgers on the grill, Patsy Cline crooning from the jukebox. Travis spun these tales about his life in the big city, growing up in a high-rise, closing million-dollar deals, even rubbing elbows with celebrities at charity galas. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room, his hand brushing mine across the table, the neon sign outside flickering red and blue through the window. I fell hard, y'all. Harder than I ever thought possible after my last breakup. Left me swearing off men for good. 6 months later, we were engaged. Travis proposed under the old oak tree on my family's ranch, the stars twinkling overhead like diamonds scattered on black velvet. He slipped a ring on my finger. Nothing too flashy, but it sparkled in the moonlight. "Lisa, you're my fresh start," he said, his voice thick with emotion. We moved in together into my little bungalow on the edge of town, with its wraparound porch and creaky screen door that slammed every time the wind picked up. He helped around the store, charming the customers with his stories. Even talked about buying land to build us a dream home. Life felt perfect, like one of those Hallmark movies, but real. But cracks started showing, little ones at first. Travis was always on his phone, stepping outside for business calls. His voice hushed, like he didn't want me overhearing. Money was tight sometimes. He'd borrow from me for investments, promising it'd pay off big. I'd shrug it off. Marriage is about trust, right? Then came the night that shattered everything. It was a stormy evening in spring, thunder rumbling like distant cannons, rain pelting the tin roof so hard it drowned out the TV. I was sorting receipts in the living room, the lamp casting a warm glow on the worn couch, where we cuddled most nights. Travis was in the shower, his phone buzzing on the coffee table. I ain't proud of it, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked it up, saw a text from a number labeled Office. "When are you coming back?" The wife's asking questions. My heart stopped, y'all. like someone had punched me square in the chest. I scrolled back. Messages, pictures, all from a woman named Karen. Miss you, babe. The kids want to see daddy. Kids, daddy. The room spun, the rain outside mirroring the storm building inside me. When Travis stepped out, towel around his waist, water dripping from his hair, I held up the phone. Who the hell is Karen? He froze, his face going pale under the tan. Lisa, it's not what you think. Bullshit, I snapped, my voice shaking. You've got a wife? Kids? In Dallas? He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. The confession poured out like floodwaters. His name wasn't even Travis. It was Tom Reynolds. He wasn't a developer. He was a salesman for a failing insurance company, buried in debt. The big deals were lies. He'd been married for 10 years, 2 kids, a house in the suburbs, came to Willow Creek to escape, met me, and thought he could start over without telling the truth. I love you, Lisa. This is real, he pleaded, reaching for my hand. I jerked away, the hurt crashing over me like a wave. Love? You lied about everything. Your name, your job, your life. Tears burned my eyes, the thunder outside echoing my pounding heart. I kicked him out that night, his truck peeling out in the mud, headlights cutting through the downpour like knives. The next few weeks were a blur of pain. I'd wake up in my bed, the sheets still smelling like his cologne, and cry until my eyes swelled shut. Folks in town noticed. Whispers at the store, pitying looks from neighbors. I heard Travis left town sudden like. I nodded, forced a smile, but inside I was hollow. How could I have been so blind? The ring sat on my dresser, mocking me every morning as the sun filtered through the lace curtains. But hurt don't stay hurt forever. It festers, turns to anger. I'd sit on the porch at dusk, the fireflies dancing in the yard, nursing a sweet tea and replaying every lie. He didn't just break my heart. He humiliated me, made a fool of me in my own town. And what about his wife, Karen? Did she know? The anger built slow, like a fire kindled with dry twigs. Until it was roaring, I wasn't gonna let him slink back to Dallas and pretend nothing happened. No, sir. He was gonna face the music. I started digging, quiet at first, Googled his real name, found his LinkedIn, his Facebook, pictures of him with Karen and the kids, smiling at barbecues, vacations to the Gulf. He had a whole life up there, one he'd hidden like a dirty secret. Then I found the court records. Public stuff, easy to access. Turns out, Travis had a history. Embezzlement charges from a previous job, dropped but suspicious. Debt collectors hounding him, even a restraining order from an ex-girlfriend years back. The more I uncovered, the madder I got. This wasn't just cheating. This was a con. He'd used me for money, for a hideout, for God knows what else. One evening I drove to the library. Our little brick building on Main, with its musty smell of old books and the hum of fluorescent lights, sat at a computer, piecing it all together, printed everything. Emails I'd forwarded from his phone. Yeah, I had his password. Screenshots, records. My hands shook as I stapled the pages, the staple gun clicking like a judgment. Anger fueled me now, sharp and clear. I wasn't gonna sue or call the cops. Not yet. That'd be too easy. No, I wanted everyone to know. His wife, his boss, his friends. Small town justice. Texas style. I drafted a letter that night. Kitchen table lit by the overhead bulb. Crickets chirping outside. Addressed it to Karen Reynolds. Laid it all out. Dates. Details. Even attached photos of us together. I'm sorry you have to hear it this way, I wrote, but your husband ain't who he says he is. Mailed it anonymous, postmarked from Austin to cover my tracks. Then I emailed his boss at the insurance company, attaching the embezzlement records. Thought you'd want to know about your employee's past. Burner email, of course. But that was just the start. Willow Creek needed to know too. He'd charmed half the town, talked about investing in local businesses. What if he'd scammed others? I started. I'm back on this porch swing, the wood groaning under my weight as I rock back and forth, watching the stars pop out one by one in the Texas sky. That deep blue dusk settling in, with the crickets starting their nightly chorus. It's peaceful out here. Gives a body time to reflect. Telling you about Travis, or Tom, as I should call him, has stirred up all those old feelings. But it's good, like lancing a boil, you know. Gets the poison out. Last time, I left off with me starting to unravel his web of lies, mailing that letter to his wife and emailing his boss. But that was just the kindling. The real fire was about to blaze. Let me walk you through how it all played out, how I turned that anger into determination, and finally found some peace on the other side. After mailing that letter to Karen, I didn't sleep much. I'd toss in bed, the ceiling fan whirring overhead, slicing through the humid night air, replaying every sweet nothing Travis had whispered. You're my fresh start. What a load of horse manure. The anger kept me up, but it was sharpening my focus. I wasn't going to stop at his family and job. No, Willow Creek deserved the truth too. He'd been schmoozing folks around town, talking big about developing land, even borrowed money from a couple of locals for preliminary surveys. If he was a con man, who else had he fleeced? The next morning, I headed to the feed store early, the sun just peeking over the horizon, turning the fields golden like wheat, ready for harvest. The bell jingled as I unlocked the door, the smell of grain and leather greeting me like an old friend. I fired up the computer in the back office, the fluorescent light buzzing like an angry bee, pulled up the town Facebook group, Willow Creek Chatter, where everyone posts about lost dogs, bake sales, and the occasional scandal. I drafted a post, fingers hovering over the keyboard for a minute. Hey y'all, just a heads up about a fella named Travis Harlan, who's been around town talking real estate. Turns out his real name's Tom Reynolds, and he's got a whole other life in Dallas. Be careful if he's approached you about investments. I attached a photo of him from my phone, the one from our engagement night. Him grinning under that oak tree. Hit post before I could second guess myself. The responses came flooding in faster than a flash flood. Folks liking, sharing, commenting. That's the guy who wanted to buy my acreage. He borrowed $500 from me, said it'd double in a month. My phone buzzed non-stop, the screen lighting up the dim office. Old Mr. Harlan called me personally, his gravelly voice on the line. Lisa, honey, is this true? He was sniffing around my farm last week. I told him everything, voice steady, but my hands shaking as I gripped the receiver. By noon, the post had over 200 shares. Willow Creek might be small, but word travels like wildfire in a dry brush. That's when the guilt crept in. Just a whisper at first. Was I going too far, ruining a man's life over a broken heart? I'd sit at the kitchen table that evening, a plate of cold fried chicken in front of me, the sunset streaming through the window in orange streaks, painting the walls like fire. But then I'd remember Karen, those kids in the photos, innocent pawns in his game. No, this wasn't revenge for revenge's sake. It was justice, making sure he couldn't hurt anyone else. The anger shifted then, from boiling hot to a steady burn, like a forge hammer shaping steel. I was determined now, y'all. No turning back. A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number. Picked it up while stocking shelves at the store, the scent of fresh hay filling the air. It was Karen. Her voice was soft, broken, like she'd been crying for days. Lisa, I got your letter. I didn't know. He told me he was on business trips. We talked for an hour, me leaning against the counter, customers browsing in the aisles, oblivious to the drama unfolding. She filled in the blanks. Tom had gambling debts. Affairs before. Even forged her signature on loans. The kids, how do I tell them? She whispered. I felt for her, truly. You deserve better, I said. We both do. Before hanging up, she thanked me, said she was filing for divorce, contacting the police about the embezzlement stuff. That conversation lit a fire under me. Confirmation that I was doing right, but Tom wasn't gonna go quiet. He showed up at the bungalow that night, banging on the door like a madman. The porch light cast his shadow, long and twisted, across the yard. Moths fluttering around the bulb. I cracked the door, chain still latched. Lisa, what the hell? You're destroying me. His face was red, eyes wild, hair disheveled, like he'd driven straight from Dallas. You destroyed yourself. I shot back, my voice low but firm. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of jasmine from the trellis. Lies catch up, Tom. Or should I call you Travis? He pleaded, then threatened, said he'd sue for defamation, drag my name through the mud. But I saw the fear in his eyes, the way his hands trembled. Everyone knows now, I said. Your wife, your boss, the town. You can't hide anymore. He stormed off, truck roaring down the gravel road. Dust kicking up in the moonlight. I locked the door, sank onto the couch, and let the tears come. Not for him, for me, for the girl who'd believed in fairy tales. Word from Karen came a week later. Tom's boss fired him after my email, tipped them off to the old charges. An internal audit found he'd been skimming commissions. No jail time, but blacklisted in the industry. In Willow Creek, folks started coming forward. Mr. Harlan got his investment back, after threatening to call the sheriff, and a few others too. The Facebook post went viral in our little corner of Texas, even picked up by a Dallas news blog. Small town scammer exposed. The headline read, I didn't seek the spotlight, but it felt good knowing I'd protected my people. As the dust settled, satisfaction started creeping in, slow like dawn breaking. I'd drive the ranch roads at twilight, windows down, the wind whipping my hair, country radio playing soft. The pain was still there, a dull ache, but it didn't own me anymore. I pawned the ring, used the money to fix up the store. New paint, better signage. Folks started calling me the truth teller, half joking, but with the respect in their eyes. Even went on a few dates with a nice rancher from the next town over. Nothing serious, but it reminded me life goes on. Looking back, I ain't proud of the hurt I caused, even if he deserved it. Sending that letter, posting online, it was messy, raw. But it was legal, it was true, and it set things right. Tom, or whatever he's calling himself now, is probably slinging insurance somewhere else. But with his name muddied, he can't pull the same crap. Karen's divorced, kids in therapy, but free. And me, I'm stronger. Learn to trust my gut, not pretty words. So, that's my story, y'all. A Texas girl, a pack of lies, and a reckoning that brought the truth to light. If you've ever been fooled like that, heart shattered on the rocks, know this: you can rise up, fight smart, and come out whole. The sun still sets pretty here in Willow Creek, and life's too short for regrets. Thanks for listening.